Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Donovan.
And I'm Jordan.
Join us as we go into the pages. Welcome back indeed to this episode. Do you feel welcome?
No.
Oh, get out then. Last week, we had the most excitement in the entire book. Yumi and Painter getting attacked by the stable nightmare. Painter pulling a paintbrush out of his own soul and saving them all. And even though they finally were able to convince the foreman that they needed the dang dream watch, they weren't able to convince anyone else. Well, Yumi wasn't able to convince anyone else that Painter is not some lying jerk. He just told one lie. That was it.
It was a year-long lie.
They need to calm down.
It was a bad lie. I'm on everyone else's side.
Well, I'll be on Painter's side.
I think Painter deserves to die.
Wow.
And be miserable the rest of his life. I'm just kidding.
You are quite a cruel judge.
We're left off with the scientists on Painter's world making contact with the planet, and it's definitely not Yumi's. But these chapters are good because we finally get some answers about where Yumi's from.
And my prediction came true that, at least so far in these chapters, that we do not hear anything else about the new planet. Because they're just trying to figure out, like, wait, if that's not your world, where are you from?
Yeah, so they're with that. And so then they cook up a theory. They're like, maybe we're time traveling because I'm so primitive and you have all this technology.
I really like that theory. But
alas, it's not true.
Yes, it didn't last very long.
As we learn. But kind of skipping a little bit around. So we're back in chapter 31. We're doing 31, 32, and 33 today.
Just by the way.
I think they come up with a really clever idea. So unfortunately, these chapters also debunk another of my theories that Painter's art. I'm still holding out. I'm still going to hold out. Because he still hasn't given himself to it. He's sketches people now to focus. He has people line up.
It's his way to meditate now.
Yeah, he has people line up in front of his yurt or whatever the heck it is, and then he draws them like the villagers.
Yeah.
To meditate.
I love how it described how they were all like, what's going on? This is weird.
And then Yumi comes up with a great idea because she says, even though Painter has become really good, he has a solid foundation in stacking rocks. He's not good enough. And so she's struck with inspiration that I thought was actually a pretty cool idea.
I thought it was a way good idea. I wish they would have thought about it sooner.
But basically, so after they meditate and everything, they go back to the shrine area, I guess you could call it, and the machine's there, of course, just kind of chugging away, doing its thing, stacking crap. And the intense part is that one scientist that has the box that can sense spirit's presence is looking right at Yumi. I guess, yes. Well, he probably can't see her, but he's pointed at her, so it's kind of what's going to happen with that? But
she definitely thought he was looking right at her.
But Yumi's plan was she has Painter pick rocks, and then she takes the spirit of the rock and stacks them, and then he puts the rock right where her outline is. And for those of you who are like me wondering why the crap didn't you do this from the beginning, so that is a valid question. But I think that, and Yumi points this out into her in her mind as well, that all the training, we find out it's been 30 days, so it's been a month, and all that training gives Painter the ability to copy Yumi, because without him learning how to stack rocks and how to hold them, he wouldn't be able to do it just quite right. Which makes sense. I mean, if someone told me to put a rock exactly there, you still have to know how to hold it, how to let go, how to balance it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so he knows all that. He's just not very good at it. And he even says
not a pro yet.
Yeah, because Yumi's aren't you embarrassed that you have to have help? And he's like, no, one of the ways you learn to be an artist is by copying other really good artists, and then once you get good enough at that, then you develop your own style. So he's like totally fine with it. So yeah, they begin stacking like crazy. They get like 30 rocks. They do like 12 stacks, and they're just going crazy. The scientists are freaking out. They're trying to make the machine go faster, and I feel like I'm skipping over all of it. There's not a lot of action in this, except for this. We do get little things like they're getting more comfortable with each other, and
Oh yeah, it's true. Like in the bath, they weren't even like trying to cover themselves up, type of thing.
yes, they're just falling naked, and Yumi's like, I feel really comfortable, and Painter doesn't stare as much. And I'm like, okay.
Wasn't that Wade narrating that, or was that her inner monologue?
Pretty sure it was Yumi thinking that. But yeah, a spirit is summoned because of this. Just one spirit.
Yes, and it's the same kind of thing
But
we
it
saw before. It
appears-
was a blue and like magenta, whatever color.
Yeah, blue and magenta one. And it appears next to Painter. So this time it wasn't torn between the two. But when the scientists see it, they like try to steal it. So they're like trying to suck it away. And Yumi's like, no. And she asks the spirit. She's like, I summoned you. I'm your Yoki Haijo. You got to stay with me. Haijo. I don't remember how it's pronounced.
We've been saying Hydra this whole time.
Haijo. I think it's Hijo. And so the spirit, like, even though it's like stretching, starting to like stretch out to them, it snaps back. And she's finally able to, the whole plan the whole time was to summon one spirit so they could ask it like, WTF, like why are you doing this to us? Like, why are we switching bodies? What do you need from us? And we find out why.
Yep, they don't like the machine.
Yes, apparently. So, and another thing we discover in this chapter is as they're walking to the, I thought this was interesting. As they're walking to the ritual area, they see a creation of the machine because apparently they can make the spirits turn into stuff, and it's not working very well. It's like glitchy and doesn't float the way it's supposed to, like one of those boxes, I think.
Yeah, and they're able to talk to one of the, I don't remember exactly who it was, said one of her attendants, you know.
Che Young, I think.
I think it was Che
Or
Young too.
Hawaiian J, I don't know. I don't remember.
I think it was Che Young, but I don't remember. But and all they say is that the creations that the scholars are making, that whatever they make out of the spirits, are not working very well. That's why this guy had trouble with his whatever the heck it is they made. I don't remember what it was, but
it was supposed to float and it wasn't floating.
Yeah.
That's all I know. It was probably like one of those planter boxes or something. So anyways, the spirit is able to communicate a few words to Yumi, basically saying the same thing again. Help us, give us, like, free us.
They even said like destroy the machine.
I don't think they say destroy the machine. Did it say destroy the machine?
I could have sworn. Oh, I guess it doesn't. So it's only able to say a few things, but it's like, please, freedom, please. And then you use how,
And
then stop the machine.
Yeah,
That's all it really says. But I mean, like, how are you supposed to stop it, destroy it?
yeah. That's the conclusion they come to.
Because I mean, like, what is
And
Yumi? Yumi's not going to be able to go boop 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 boop. She can't even use hardly anything in Painter's world. There's no way she's going to be able to use this machine to be like power off forever.
And I think that's a terrible solution. Breaking this one machine isn't going to stop anything. And maybe it's going to be a temporary solution until they build another machine, but they're going to have to convince the scientists that what they're doing isn't working.
And I want to know if these scientists, the scholars, would actually listen,
But they
or
never do.
because they or they like kind of like corporate America feeling where they're going to, they don't care about the stuff. They're on this for all the profit, not for the gang. Damn the expense, or whatever the heck that saying is. But they're way too like aggressive with their machine. They're not like, oh, we're just trying to help. No, they're like, so I kind of think that they're gonna tell Yumi to stuff it.
If she tries to convince them.
Yeah,
to
if she does
stop.
try to convince them, which I don't think I don't think they will.
And then Yumi comes to a realization. She realizes that because she remembers, if you remember from a few weeks ago, one of the chapters we read, Yumi snuck into a tent and was able to figure out that the machine needs a spirit to operate in order to summon spirits.
Mhm.
And then so at this point she realizes that the machine keeps a piece of the spirit's soul in order to keep running, which is why the gifts don't work as well. which is why the spirits are saying they're trapped, because
normally
they'll
they'll slowly sucking away their life.
Well, because I think normally like they'll transform into something, but after a while they'll fade back, and so they technically aren't really captured. But I bet the machine holds them indefinitely.
And definitely the part, I think it takes part of their soul, because that's what it's using to keep itself running.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yumi says, the machine keeps a piece of the spirit's soul. That's why the gifts of the scholars create don't work as well. It was collecting strength to maintain its power or for some other purpose. And there's always some other purpose with these scientists and stories like this. They always have some ulterior motive. They're like, oh, we're helping. We're creating things of like the Yoki Haijo, but why are they capturing spirits? Why do they have a box that captures the spirit? And so I think they're doing studies, and they probably think that they can create some sort of power source.
They definitely, I wouldn't be surprised, because going along with my thought just a second ago, that they just don't feel like the type of people who are like, oh, we're doing this to help the people and to make it easier for the Yoki Haijo. Like they're doing it for some sort of gain, it feels like. And maybe that gain is, obviously, there's got to be something more than just them. Oh, we just need the souls to power our machine. Like they're
probably going to do some sort of experimentation or something.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, make some weapon or some, I don't know what they're going to do, but there's always something crazy. And Yumi, of course, I think jumps prematurely to the conclusion, and this is kind of the last sentence of the chapter. She says this would all end when she and Painter destroyed that machine. And again, that's too simple in my opinion. That's too easy.
I mean,
a Yoki Haijo running in and smashing a machine with a rock isn't going to solve any problems, and it's going to make things worse. And the scientists made it clear that they plan on putting one of these machines in every village. And so they're probably already manufacturing others, because the machine works.
Yeah.
This isn't a beta testing.
Yeah.
The machine works. And
doesn't
so
work
there's others.
Super great, but well enough that
and so
they've got to have more.
So there's going to be others. They know how to make them. So I think in order for her plan to work the way she wants to do it, she's going to have to kill all the scientists and destroy the machine.
Yeah, there you go. Everyone who knows how to build the thing needs to die. That would make her.
Then her plan would work. Destroy the machine and murder everybody. Then
oh, gosh.
But no, I think it's going to take something a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And we'll get into what I think maybe that is going to look like in these next few chapters. Chapter 32.
So this was where I was saddened. Chapter 32 saddened me because it pretty quickly is like, this is not time travel.
Yeah, like the first sentence. It's absolutely, most definitely, assuredly not time travel, Design explained. So it's just kind of fast forwarding. Now we're in Painter, back in Painter's world, talking to Design. And this was actually an awesome chapter. This resolved a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. I liked it a lot.
And implied some insaneness about who Yumi is, and we had some other Cosmere relations. Or is that in chapter 33? I think it's in this one, chapter 32.
I think almost both. I can't remember that they felt both like the same.
But I was really excited when I was listening to it. I was like,
right.
I don't know why, but I love when other things are
this kind of stuff is like what I feel like I covet as a reader. Like just these informational chapters where just like it answers all my questions. It's like, give me more.
Yes. And I love how Brandon sprinkles in these references. Like in a minute we'll talk about it, but in a minute, Design uses a fabrial, which is like the new bee's knees technology in Roshar.
Yeah.
But it's like way advanced, and so it's like, okay, so this probably isn't happening the same time as Kaladin, unless Navani. I don't know, unless there's other people other than Navani working on fabrials.
Oh my gosh. Navani is the one we couldn't think of last time.
I know, it just came to me like a moment of revelation from the Lord.
I knew it was an N-word, but I don't remember his dang name, but it was Navani.
Yes, but it's a pretty insane fabrial that she... I'll just talk about it now. So, in order to prove that they're not time traveling, because they're like, well, maybe we still are. And she's like, no, how do I explain this to you freaking idiots?
Yeah, and what she does explain it really well for us is like, she just... flat out like says it's impossible. Like not even a shard can do it. And they're like, what's a shard? But we know what a shard is. Like,
yes,
not even these gods who have Aiden Alcium's power can time travel.
Yeah, but the way that Design explains it is like confuses them, because she says there's no way to travel back in time.
Yes.
And so they're like, so you can travel forward in time. And then she's like, well, like, yeah, we're traveling forward in time right now. It's like time is progressing, and they're like, oh.
Yes. But she does go and make references. I think she references Scadrial,
I
because
must have missed that. What'd she say?
it's not like it's part of the when she was explaining, like, well, we're time traveling right now, forward in time or whatever. But she kind of mentions, I think she mentions like manipulating time a little, like slowing it down and speeding it up, like
whatever whatever Wayne is.
Yeah, whatever Wayne is. He can, do his little speed bubbles, and what's her face can do her speed bubble too. That does the opposite.
It's like the reverse slows it down. Yeah, because he speeds up, she slows down. I don't remember their names either. Dang it! But Wayne. I don't remember what the names.
Yeah, there's Wayne, and then her name. We remember Navani this time. Next time we're gonna remember her name.
Whatever the heck her name is. But the way Design described time, I think is even more than that, because she said that when you're in the spiritual realm, time is like a flowing river that you can contain in something, like a jar, she says. And so I'm like, that seems really weird. And so it seems like there's time is maybe something that they don't fully understand. But she whips out a Fabrial to help her kind of prove, because they're Yumi and Painter are still kind of like. So she pulls out a Fabrial, which is a way more advanced Fabrial than anything we've seen in Stormlight so far. I mean, the Fabrials we have in the Stormlight archive are the ones that warm up, the ones that take away pain, the ones that draw away water. So, like, pretty useful and impressive things. Like, they also have the ones that, like, they can write, the span reads.
Oh, yeah.
And Navani recently made the flying machine.
Yeah.
And so there's pretty impressive things that they can do. And the wheelchair of that one lady. But this one's like a cut above, and this one requires greater knowledge of, I think, the Cosmere at large, and as well as other things. And so it makes me think that this Fabrial wasn't made by Navani, or was made, or this is happening. This like in Painter's world is happening well after the events in Stormlight, which, if true, pissing me off, because I'm like, it better not be true, because otherwise it's a spoiler alert, because the whole thing with they're fighting Odium, and Odium's trying to destroy the universe. And so if they're still here and Wit's here, because if you remember, Wit was freaking on Roshar helping Yasna to fight Odium. And so if this is after this and he's here now, that means they beat Odium.
I think that's a stretch, but
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Maybe not beat him, like destroy him, but like prevent him from leaving.
Maybe this takes after the first arc of Stormlight, and maybe they're working their way into the second arc. But maybe this is also happening during Stormlight 5, so that this is a Fabrial we haven't seen yet in Stormlight that we will now see.
This
in
Fabrial
Stormlight
is
5.
so insane. Because, so we've been teasing long enough.
Yeah, what's this thing do?
So what it does is you put your hand on it and it measures your investiture, which I guess, like, it measures the power of your soul, essentially. So Painter does it, and he's a normal dude. But Yumi does it, and this part was freaking awesome. She's, like, insanely invested. She's like, this is the level of, oh, dang, what'd she say first? She said, dang. Oh, yeah, so first she's like, you're super invested. Storms, yeah, it's like returned level investiture. So I was like, woo! I freaking love Warbreaker. So Warbreaker Returned is where, like, someone dies, but then they come back with, like, godlike proportions. They're, like, instantly, like, 6'5". It's super sexy and fit, and they have, like, these
So how come
powers.
Yumi isn't 6'5"? I guess she's not a return. She just has as much investiture as a return.
Yes,
so.
But then she's like, no, more. Elantrian level. And I was like, badass. I freaking love Elantrians.
So I saw that too, and I was like, dang it all. I have not read Elantra, son of a bee.
You saw the experience of the Elantrian, though, because in the last Wax and Wayne book.
Yeah, but I didn't realize they were this powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I thought I was like, oh, that's cool. He has stamp things, but whatever. I don't even get it.
No, that's not. An Elantrian doesn't stamp things.
Oh, wait, what was that?
So she stamps her soul to change the possibility that she became an Elantrian. So when she was drawing in the air and doing magic, that's what an Elantrian can do.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And that's what Hoyd did at the end of Tress. Right? Yes, remember how he was like the witch lady's like attacking Tress, and Hoyd comes over and is like, and they're all doing these symbols and crap in the air.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Forgot. So anyway, I thought that was really cool, because I knew Elantrians were powerful, but I never realized that they were more powerful than Returned, which I thought Returned were pretty powerful. I don't know how they relate to things like Night Radiant, because, Knights, they have, like, those pretty cool abilities, like that they can manipulate things and do some pretty cool things, and shard blades. Like, I don't know how they stand up to that, but Elantrian I know is really powerful. And which interesting fact, I'm actually reading Elantris right now with my wife, and so I was like,
can you believe it? He left us all behind.
I know, you guys got to catch up. And well, I got really excited
This podcast has to catch up
because she's never read it before, so I was like, let's read it.
Now you got to read it a third time come January.
I know it very well. I'll be able to catch even
That's
more.
it if we decide to read it, then I guess we can read something else.
There's a lot of things we could read, but
has she read Warbreaker?
Yeah, she
Okay.
loved Warbreaker. But anyways, I don't know why I thought that was so cool to have design be like, wow, you're like really powerful, and so like
Yeah,
Yumi
that was
has
really
like
cool.
Yumi has the same level of investiture.
So I mean,
As
that
an
just has to tell us right there that does Yumi have this unknown, incredibly and powerful abilities that we just don't even know yet? That she doesn't even
She's
know.
got it because
How could she be that invested and not?
If she's as powerful as an Elantrian, she can do more than stack rocks and summon spirits. And
She just
I don't
needs
know
to
what
find-
it is. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I mean, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way. She can do more.
So I wonder if that answers.
And design even says that Nightmare should be afraid of Yumi because Yumi can consume them.
Yeah, that was another part where I was like, oh, wow.
I was like, I thought the Nightmare was eating Yumi.
Yeah, seriously, it was. But I wonder if this answers the question as to why, even though there is another Yoki Haiju who has lived as strict as Yumi, but still only summons like 6 or was like 10, 11 spirits while Yumi's summoning 30. Is she summoning so much because she's actually massively invested?
Probably. I'm sure because I'm sure she attracts them. So I'm sure the level investiture attracts them for sure. And also another interesting thing about this Fabula. Oh, no, I don't think it's the Fabula. I think it's just design's perception is you can see your connections to people, and because apparently whenever you connect to the lore with investiture and with souls in the Cosmere is that you have a spiritual connection with everything and everyone that you know and meet and touch. And it was I felt really bad for Yumi because designer was like, wow, you have like no connections, you have one, and it's Painter, like you must be a really private person. And then Yumi's like, you could say that, and like the whole time I'm like, oh, Yumi has been forced to not know anybody, or if her maids. Anyway, we've already beat a dead horse with talking about Yumi's life, but the interesting part is like she also says that you have 13 other connections.
Yeah.
And with the other Yoki Haijo that she's never really met, and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we know. I guess that's strongly implied because she's like, there's 13 other Yoki Haiju. So I guess who else could it be other than the other Yoki Haiju?
Okay, so there's connections to 13 other Yoki Haijo, which is just like crazy. And then we kind of get a little more confirmation that maybe they're I don't remember how it bridges it. Is it in this chapter that we learn that they're okay? So and based on this, the Fabula that's reading her soul and like design's perception, we learn that they're on the same planet, and that the Yoki Haijo are, I don't know if you could say close, but design knows generally.
Yeah, like she's kind of like, they're in that direction.
Yeah, they're over there. And then Yumi kind of like is overcome and just takes off running. And she starts running in the direction that design pointed all the way up to the shroud. And Painter's like, what are you doing, crazy lady? She's like, something came over me. I just had to go.
Yeah, there's actually something I wanted to talk about. It's probably quick. Just before when they're still using the Fabula or whatever, and like design is trying to read her, she discovers that like some of Yumi's memories have been erased, and we learn that this whole interesting thing. I thought it was super interesting to learn that like your investiture, your soul, gets imprinted with your memories, and that's how design is able to be like, that's weird. Like you have some of your memories missing.
Yeah, it was like a day.
Yeah,
She
and
lost a day of
it
memories.
sounds like when she was attacked by when the Nightmare punctured her with his spirit fingers,
Yeah.
he sucked away a day of her stuff in that little second, which is freaking freaky.
So yeah, they're at the shroud, and then another super interesting thing happens, which I really liked about this chapter. So we also learn that the shroud is pure investiture, and that nightmares are pure investiture, and that's why they're so moldable, is because investiture is molded by your perception of what it is.
Yeah.
And that's why how the painters are actually operate, which I think we already implied this. I think we already kind of knew this, is that it's not so much the drawing, it's the imposing your will of what you think it should be that changes the nightmare.
That makes me think that if they tried and worked at it hard enough, they could get themselves to a point where they didn't need to paint. They could just run into a nightmare and be like, and then just force the nightmare into whatever form they were thinking about.
Yeah, I'm definitely sure they could.
But everyone's weak-minded, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, Yumi's there. She's kind of talking. She's like, I was just also felt like super overwhelmed and just needed to go see these other Yoki Haijo. And then she starts. So Yumi, while she's thinking, like, it seems like she just kind of does this, like, meditate and think. She starts stacking rocks and pebbles.
Yeah.
But as she's doing that, the shroud reacts.
Yes. Which I immediately thought, like, oh crap, she's like attracting some BA nightmare or something.
Yes, that's what Painter thought too, because he was at first he was about to be like, run. But then he stops himself because he realizes that the shroud is pulling away from Yumi's stacks.
Yeah.
Similar to how it pulls away from the
Eon
lights. And he points it out to Yumi, and Yumi doesn't stop. She goes faster, and she's just like stacking and stacking and stacking, and it starts like boiling, and Design runs up, and she follows them out, and she sees at this point where it's just kind of bending and boiling, and all of a sudden it rips in the middle. And
this is where we get confirmation of what they were just talking about, that they're on the same world.
Well, maybe.
So
they see. We get a piece of art here, but it's what happens is a Yoki Haijo starts to come through the veil with this like outstretched hand and is silently screaming. And the art kind of looks almost exactly like Yumi.
Yeah, it does look exactly like Yumi. Like, are they all just like twins or something? Like,
yeah, so you see that, and then afterwards, Design's like, Yumi is like, I saw Yoki Haijo, and Yumi and Painter both say, or were you thinking about them? And so a nightmare took its shape. And so, well, we already know that they're on the same planet, but I don't think it was a real person they saw.
Oh, that would.
I guess that's what I was trying to say. Not that they're not on the same planet. We know for sure they're on the same planet. But I think the Yoki Haijo, and I think this is what Design and Painter are saying, the Yoki Haijo they saw was just a nightmare forming.
And I wonder, I mean, the artwork does look like Yumi, but is that just coincidence? Because they didn't ever like, why did it look like you? So I wonder if it's. She didn't say I saw myself or anything, so I think it was. I'm just trying to clarify for myself.
Maybe it's just the art just looks like Yumi, but it wasn't.
I think so
her.
too.
Because I'm sure they would have mentioned like it was me coming out of there, like what the crap.
Yes.
Oh, and this is when they come up with this stupid plan. I freaking hate Painter's plan. I hope they don't do Painter's plan. They're like, we have to stop the machine, and he's like, I can just walk in there with a rock and destroy it. And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, you got to think. And Yumi's like...
was that Painter's plan or
yes, that's Painter's plan. He's like, we can just go in there. And it's kind of funny. Design at this point.
No, it was Design. It kind of said it, but Painter took it. Well, I want to read what Design said because I thought that was hilarious. And she says, I suggest hitting it very hard. Preferably with something more hard. It's like, oh, brilliant advice on how to take this down. So, and then that's when Painter is like, we could just use a rock.
Yes.
Like, brilliant.
I love this part because Design, in this point, she mentions that she can turn into a shard blade. She's like, I make a passable sword, but it's just like in passing, and like Painter and Yumi just kind of like don't even like acknowledge.
Like she said so many things that are so weird to them. They're just like they don't even acknowledge. Like, oh, okay, whatever. Just keep moving on with their life.
Yeah. Hopefully, Yumi is able to talk some sense in Painter because Yumi is like, no, we got to think, we got to plan, we need more information. We can't just burst in there.
Yeah, they definitely need something because of what you were talking about earlier. That just okay, you break that one, they're gonna make another one, and they'll probably throw you in jail so you can't break the next one or whatever.
Like you're just gonna totally destroy the respect of the Yoki Haijo in yourself, and you're just gonna look like an idiot. And who knows if hitting it with a rock even will do anything? Like it's just a stupid plan. It's just a knee jerk, stupid plan. Like we need to destroy it. Hit it with a rock. Well, I can burst in the tent and hit it with a rock. Like okay, it's a stupid plan, but
honestly.
They decided that Yumi decides that they want to do it. They want to map out Yumi's planet and see if it kind of matches Painter's. And they asked Design if she like kind of surveyed the area before she came to the planet. She's like, not really, but I might know someone who can tell us. Someone who has traveled the shroud extensively. So I'm like, hoy.
That's what I went to too, but
But it is not
It was
Hoyd.
not Hoyd. Chapter 33. That was 33 for
Yes.
people that don't understand me.
Yes. All that whole conversation that we just talked about happened outside at the Stroud.
Yeah, so they go back to the noodle shop, and they pick up somebody I wasn't expecting, because I was just like, finally, free Hoyd.
Yes, but it was not Hoyd. But we go back to the kitchen area, and
yeah,
it kind of seems like
for some reason, I guess they didn't. I wonder if they didn't want to run into anyone because they snuck in through the back.
Yeah, I probably didn't want to get distracted by the friend group.
Because I guess they probably would have tried
Yeah.
to say something.
And so they go to the back room, and it kind of seems like a crazy person's like area. There's like numbers just all over the wall, all over the ceiling. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like.
And I thought that was hilarious. She was like, "Oh, it's beautiful, real art." That's how what design was thinking.
Yeah.
What kind of spren was she again?
She's cryptic.
And don't cryptics like numbers and stuff? Is that why she
Yeah.
likes it so much?
Yeah, they also really like lies.
That's right.
At least that's because that's the I think it's the second ideal or third ideal where you have to confront something about your path and past and tell a truth. Like that's like what what's her face had to do, Shalon.
Sure.
But anyway, we get an awesome thing. Design comes back with Masaka.
And I can't even remember because her name was so crazy. But when we first met Masaka, did we get her full name? Did it say this? Chinikadore bitch.
No, because
That wasn't the name. Oh no, it is Masaka that had a huge long name. No, it wasn't Izzy, right?
I know Izzy's a nickname, but I don't think they said this Chicken Nadoric because so it's the Chinook Dakordic, the 60th horde of the Natriot strain. And I forget what these creatures are called, but they're on Roshar. And what they are is they're a bunch of like shell creature bug things.
So this
that
is
can
Masaka's also from Roshar.
yeah.
Okay.
I think. Well, I
didn't
don't know if they're Roshar natives based on this chapter. Because I'll get to that. But yeah, so they're like little these shells, and they like have like a hive mind. They can all communicate, and they can form and make themselves look like humans. But there's cracks though, and Masaka explains that she uses makeup to make her cracks there, and she's here.
She even said she makes the face one piece. I wonder if it was where the makeup was, because I could have sworn
I don't know, because she did say that. She said that she makes it one piece. It took years of breeding, but then she also mentioned she hides the cracks with makeup. So I don't know if that's on her face or her hands or somewhere. I don't know.
It could be anywhere.
Yeah, but she explains that she's here on this planet to escape the war and the conflict that's going on in the Cosmere at large, and she's here to hide. But the reason why she's valuable in this instance is because her species, I don't know if they're paranoid by nature or inquisitive, but whenever and this is what made me think that maybe they're not native to Roshar, because design says whenever the species goes to a planet, they spread out and explore the whole planet with their...
That would definitely make
their
sense.
little
I mean, it's possible they're
drones.
native from Roshar, but they could very well be from somewhere else.
from somewhere else and just kind of spread everywhere. But so that's how they're going to use her to map out the area, because she's sent her drones or workers or whatever however the heck you want to think of them, to explore the entirety of the
she
shroud.
mapped it out.
Yeah, and so she gets and she kind of explains, she's like, I've tried so hard to become a human, please don't tell anyone who I am. And Yumi's even like, you make a very cute girl.
Yes.
And Masaka gets really close and grabs her hand, and Yumi's trying not to freak out, and she's like, thank you. You should listen to the audio. I gotta show you the audiobook after this, but her voice sounds really creepy. The way that Kate Redding does Masaka's voice, I'm like, you sound like a freak. The other funny part about this is Painter's like, I freaking knew it.
How did he know it? I want to know. Did he
I think he
Masaka
just thought-
was weird?
I think he just thought he was weird, and he's like, it finally makes sense. She's an alien. That's why she's so weird.
Because Masaka's is also the quiet one who draws pictures of people and it's just hands you.
Yeah, that turns out she's this horde, this hive mind horde creature that is trying desperately to be human. And this whole chapter, as Masaka's talking, and always she refers to herself as we, which I thought also kind of added to the mysteriousness of her. But I thought it was funny. She said, Yeah, so Yumi's like, so it's true, you're a creature like design. And then Misaka says, not entirely like her, but yes. Is it so obvious, Yumi? We're figuring out so many things. Human girls like cute things. We like cute things. And then like she looks like she's about to cry. She's like, we make such a good human. You can't even see the seams in our skin as long as we wear makeup. But yeah, so she's trying really hard, and then that's when Yumi compliments her. And then
Yeah. And she actually, I don't know if she gave this to Yumi because of the compliment, but she gives Yumi a gift after the compliment. Here, this is for you. Like, she gives her a knife.
A knife that's good for prying open shells. Yumi's like,
very good at cracking shells, Misaka said.
yes, and Yumi's like,
there's apparently a hooked end. I don't know.
She's like,
yeah.
Like, that's so nice.
I remember. She's like, there's flowers inscribed. It's very cute. And
yes.
It's like, yeah, very cute.
Yeah, it's like, that's very cute. It's like, you freak. Yeah, this one design says, no horde settles on a planet without knowing everything about the terrain. I bet she's been sending out little scouts to investigate the entire place.
Yeah, definitely.
And then turns out, so she said, Misaka says that she's not as paranoid as others of her kind, but she still has sent out feelers, and she knows pretty much exactly everything that's in the shroud.
Which is super cool. And it sounds like she can do it without risk of whatever might happen to you in the shroud. Does anything happen to you in the shroud, or is it just there's nightmares that could come out?
I think it's just nightmares and superstition. And I don't think she's not human, so maybe she doesn't have the emotions that draw nightmares.
It could be.
So for her, it's just dark as heck, and she just kind of scuttles around.
Yeah.
Or maybe because the interesting thing about her species is that they can breed and go through and essentially go and put themselves through evolution. So I wonder if maybe she was able to make scouts that can see in the dark or have like abilities to sense darkness. I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't think they're just wandering around blind. I think they have some way to sense stuff.
I definitely agree. Or else how would she even be able to be like, yeah, this stuff's over there, that stuff's over there? Like, she'd have to be able to sense it somehow. But we learned something really interesting about the shroud. First of all, we already know that it's pure investiture, and the reason they give us that Painter didn't know that Yumi's world existed and her world didn't know that Painter's world existed is that this shroud can look like anything. And
that's their theory, yeah.
That is their theory. And so that would be insane to me because, okay, we're going off Yumi's experience, which is like really bad because she travels and she travels in a thing. So she's not driving herself or walking herself to the places. So what the heck does she know? But still, like, everyone else everyone in Painter's world and everyone in Yumi's world was not able to discover that there was more past what they were able to see.
Because I think the theory or reason they're saying is in both worlds, they both have vast areas that no one really travels. They just kind of follow known routes to towns. Yeah. And anything else is well known, in air quotes, to be deadly and to not do it. And so their theory is because there's areas that Masaka's scouts can't get into for some reason, and they're like circular and they're like column like structure like things that she can't get through because the investiture's formed like a solid wall that goes all the way up to the atmosphere in some cases. So it's pretty crazy. And Painter kind of hypothesizes that when after Misaka draws where these are, he's like, these kind of look like towns. And Yumi's like, I guess they kind of look like towns, but like, wouldn't I have noticed the shroud? And then that's when he's like, well, the shroud can look like anything. Like, it can maybe just makes it seem like all desert, but it's actually all blackness. And then Yumi's like, maybe.
His theory makes sense to me.
So I'm curious to see, because how I'm just trying to reconcile in my mind, because the shroud can present an image that we know, but can it affect things like temperature? Because Painter's city is like cold. Well, I don't know if it's like cold or if it's just like normal temperature. And Yumi's world is super sunny, very hot, so hot that you have to wear clogs to walk or you burn your feet off.
Yeah.
And they have geysers.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the shroud somehow can influence the environment. Like, it would make sense to me why Painter's world would be cold, because they're all enclosed off, and there's no sunlight or anything getting down there really. So maybe that's why his is colder. But in Yumi's world, they talk about how the heat comes from the ground. So I'm not sure how strong that theory is.
Yeah, and Painter does mention that he doesn't think that her society is very large because, 14 Hokiyoki Hydra are able to provide basically needs, and they're able to travel relatively quickly to areas, so he doesn't think it's very big. But the circles of areas that Misaka can't get in are like the size of towns, not the size of nations.
Yeah.
And so
another thing too actually is the floating stuff on Yumi's side of things.
Yeah.
So maybe since the shroud is pure and messenger, it just has the ability to manipulate and create completely different environments and stuff. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
And I was also thinking it had something to do with something similar to what the heck is that movie? King Kong. Kong versus Godzilla. Remember when they go under the earth and it turns out there's a whole freaking jungle and ecosystem under the surface of the earth? Yeah. So I could see something similar to that. Not exactly like underground, but like something similar where it's just like another level of the planet. Like she mentioned that these solid walls go all the way up to the atmosphere, and so I don't know. I'm just very confused. I'm curious to see how this is all going to tie together.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the reason the walls go all the way up to the atmosphere is because they got to keep the heat and stuff in that area and all that junk. But
that's why I'm wondering: can the shroud manipulate more than just visual perception?
I would imagine so. That's my guess.
Yeah. So that ends, and then Yumi goes back out to the main area.
Yeah, Painter wants her to go to sleep so they can test out the map. Like he memorized the map that Misaka gave them, and he's going to draw it, I guess, in Yumi's world. They want to get a map in Yumi's world to compare things, see if they can match things up. But Yumi wants some noodles.
Yeah, so she goes out to eat because she's really hungry. She wants to eat before she goes to sleep, and she gets a little emotional because she sees the friend group, and she's like, "This is probably the last time that I'll ever see them." And then she goes and talks to them, and they kind of talk and go a little bit, and they start ribbing Painter again, Karo, and they're kind of like
trying again to be like, "No, he's not a good person."
Yeah, like they freaking hate him, and like even say that's someone's sister. I think that's a little too far. Where someone's sister and they're just like, your brother is like the freaking worst. Like, of course, like he just sucks. I'm like, oh, that'd be really awkward. If someone came to me and was like, Donovan's just a freaking jackass. And I'm like, why are you like that?
Yeah, go away and talk to someone else. Oh, gosh.
But Yumi, she has an argument that I think is weak sauce.
Yumi has an argument?
Well, because she tries to defend Painter. And
yeah.
She's like, did you ever think how Painter felt? Like he was so alone and didn't have anyone, and also he had these friends that relied on him, and he felt so pressured to provide for you, so that's why he lied. And like my mind, I'm like, okay, like,
I buy it. Like he was
like
high school age, and I remember kind of being like that. I didn't go as far as like Painter did, but I definitely would be like, oh yeah, this and that, and oh yeah, I like that too, just because of social pressure that I put on myself, type of thing. So I believe it.
I still don't think it gets him in the clear. I'm not saying that that those feelings he had were invalid, but in my opinion, you lead people on for a year like that, and like actively too. It's not just like he was like, oh yeah, sure, yeah. He like did things like actually make it seem like it was happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Like he skipped class. He made promises. He let them tell their families, and so
he's really weak-minded. Okay.
Yes, and so Yumi's argument was he did these things to protect you because he didn't want to disappoint you. Well, the things he was doing to protect them was causing more freaking harm. And so
he was just an idiot, and like. It's one of those things where you got to really buck yourself up or whatever to, like, I can't tell this lie anymore. I've got to say it. You gotta really pull on those will strings of yours in order to be like, this is stupid. I just think he was a dumb kid who just couldn't understand that and just wasn't brave enough to be like, I actually didn't get in. And it's been a month or whatever, but like, and he just dug himself in too deep and put too much pressure on himself.
Yeah, it's like an interesting feelings I have, because like, well, I totally understand where he's coming from. I totally understand why he did that, and I understand their feelings. I don't think that a simple "I'm sorry, I was freaking out" is going to be enough, because at this point it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
And when they've had a year where they
a year
were
to
deceived,
get over it,
a year where they've just been pissed at him, and I don't think that a reconciliation is completely out of the question, but it's going to take a lot more than just "I'm sorry, I was scared." Yeah.
What do you think you should do?
He definitely needs to apologize. I think he needs to come to them and say what Yumi said. Because to them, hearing it from a sister and hearing it from the person are completely different things. So he needs to come to them and say, like, "Hey guys, like I'm a total a-hole. Like I know I totally effed up, and this is why I did it, and like I know I screwed you guys over, and I'm freaking sorry." And then
that would be a good start. I agree.
I think that would then open the bridge to them be like, and then maybe after some time be like, okay, but I don't know if they're ever going to be like best friends again.
In the real world, probably not.
It would be really hard to.
But
to
maybe
trust.
if like, so I wonder if this is going to happen. I wonder if Yumi and Painter will find a way to like get rid of the shroud, or at least make it so that's really easy, like it doesn't cut off other people's worlds and like make it seem like there's only one world and stuff. And so maybe what I'm getting at is that Painter and Yumi will live in the same world. They'll maybe get together and be their little couple thing, and then Akane and everyone else is going to want to hang out with Yumi still, and maybe like protect her. Be like, oh, we better hang out with you guys because you're dating Painter, and he's this like,
they're probably going to be really weirded
he's
out. They're
freaking
like,
Satan's child.
They're like, they're probably not going to tell. They're probably not going to tell them that they're not brother and sister. They're going to see them kissing, and they're going to be like, freaking Nikaro.
I wonder
the lying
if they would.
Dude just making out with this sister.
Right? They're just gonna be like, you lied to us again. Like, I want, because that's another thing that I think will make things worse. Be like, oh, by the way, Yumi's not my sister. She's my lover.
She's my lover.
But I kind of wonder if maybe something like that will happen. Maybe once all this is over and said and done, like they'll kind of just.
Yeah. So she gives this impassioned speech, and she basically kind of clears the air and kind of makes them confront that this was a terrible situation, but try to empathize with Painter a little bit, like
I think
he spent his whole life going for this one thing, and then he met this group of people that relied on him to do that, and then to just completely fail, like crushed him, and she's like, understand that feeling, and then they're kind of like kind of humbled a little bit. And then Painter misses all of this. He comes out of the kitchen.
I thought he was there for the whole thing, but then it was like, then he came out of the kitchen. I was like, oh, he wasn't even there.
No, he wasn't even there for it. So
he probably would have blushed.
Yeah. And they leave, and he's like, "Did you eat?" And she's like, "I lost my appetite."
Yeah.
And that's how we get to the end of the chapter. Yeah. So, and they're finally getting resolved, and so Yumi finally says, "You're right. It's time to end this." Oh, and just kind of pastly, we kind of skipped over this, but Yumi is starting to acknowledge that she has romantic feelings for Painter.
Yes.
But she's worried to say anything because she's worried that, typical high school reasons, like, oh, what if he doesn't like me back? What if he's just like trying really hard to like get out of here?
Yeah. And she still, I'm surprised she even feels that, quite honestly, because she's been so secluded her entire life, not allowed to even have normal relationships, let alone a romantic one. Like, so I'm surprised she's not like, why am I feeling this? What is this? What do I do about it? Well, that's weird. That's just weird, because like, how would she know what to do with that and think like, oh, wait, I like him, but what if he doesn't like me?
I bet she's getting it from all the dramas and soap operas she watches.
That could make sense, actually. I could see that happening. That's what she's getting it.
That's another thing she mentioned after the Yoki Haijo vision or whatever the heck it was rips through the veil. She's like, I just realized we missed Seasons of Regret episode tonight. So she's like super invested in the soap opera.
Which is hilarious. So I have something that I really, really hope happens. just because Yumi was scared to death the first two nightmares. I mean, one of them was she had every right to be scared, but she was also so mortified of just the regular nightmare that wasn't even stable yet. That should have been way easy to get rid of for any painter. She freaked out over it and stuff, and then there was a stable nightmare that obviously freaked her out and froze her. But I really hope that we get to see her like absorb the stable nightmare or something like that. That'd be super sweet.
Yeah, that would be cool. She's just like sucks its essence, and then she's gonna do something crazy like shoot a spirit beam or something. I don't know. That's what's gonna destroy the machine.
That would be awesome. I want to see her actually consume it though. I want her to, force pull that spirit or that nightmare into her and feed off of it instead of it off of her.
And that's this week's chapters. So I guess we'll see next week what happens when they try to destroy the machine, if they even get to that, or if something else comes up. We still don't know if the nightmare's planning, scheming, attack him again,
or something.
We don't know what's going to happen. If the scientists, in attempting to destroy the machines, the scientists are going to capture Yumi somehow in their little box, which I wonder what that would do to Painter.
Yeah, and I like both of them too, because I'm sure Yumi's way more powerful than the spirits. So would their machine be able to contain her, or if she tried to, would she be able to bust out of that and explode the machine or something? I do feel satisfied though. So many questions answered.
Yeah, a lot of good questions were answered in this one. So now
I'm really satisfied with these chapters.
At this point, we're just going to see how it ends. We're just going to see what the heck happens.
Pretty much.
So.
Well, we're coming really close to the end of this book. We've only got a few weeks left until we're finished with this, and a few weeks until Secret Project number 4, which I'm super excited for because these have been pretty good.
Yeah, they've all been really good.
Yes. Be sure to come back next week and we can see what the heck Yumi and Painter are going to do about the machine. And crap.
Yes, and crap.
And as always, don't forget to leave us a comment about what you think of everything if you're watching us on our YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you. Good day, all.
See ya. It's over.